Yo, it is I, Andre. I'm back with another video. In this video, I'm going to talk about the worthiness of things in general. So, is it worth it? That's what you got to think about. I'm going to tell you a story. There was a time I worked for a truck loading company, right? I was loading trucks. Well, I was working in a factory at one time, right? And every individual had to fill up their own truck. Like, we had our own task of, we had our own conveyor belt, and we moved it into the truck, and we took the boxes off the conveyor belt into the truck. We loaded the truck. All the men there, we all had our own trucks we focused on for like the whole day. And then when the truck is full, the truck will leave, and then the new truck will come to replace it and take it to the stores, disperse it throughout the stores. That was pretty much the job. All I had to do was load it. That's it. And then the truck will leave and then come back with a new truck. I mean, there would be another truck to replace it, and I'll load that one. It was a good workout when it comes to weightlifting, all that. But anyway, I'm going to talk about my story about is it worth it. But during that time, I wanted to make more money faster, right? So that's why I got that job. But as time went on, people started, gaining away with my tasks. You know how there are people in different positions who abuse their power instead of being professional and fulfilling their roles. They'll pick on someone to mess with just because they can. So anyway, now when I was working there, I'm an honest worker. I will work hard, for my pay. Of course, I understand that, the balance. When you work for something for money, you must never put your health in harm's way, just because you want to work for money. 'Cause money isn't more important than you as a human. Humans are more valuable. So this is why if I was in charge of any kind of company, I would work my workers honestly, and I would never do things to make more money off of someone. I'm not gonna sacrifice another human for the sake of making more money. That's all I can say. And I will have my people work at their own pace. And I'll give them a higher pay just because they exist. I'm saying how I would be because I'm fully aware that humans are more valuable than money and material. So, yeah. But anyway, I was working I was working my job. I was working honestly. Then people keep taking me off of my tasks, saying, "Oh, we need you to do this real quick, that real quick." As a result, I got behind, and then I got scolded because I got behind. And but yeah, one of the managers took me somewhere else to fill the task, and then yeah. See, but it was all a strategy just to mess with me, basically. Yeah. They wanted me to stress out and all that, but of course I wouldn't stress out. I would stay calm and collected. And yeah. And then So, because like I say, every man was responsible for their own truck, and we were right next to each other. We all were facing our own truck, And then there were times where other men didn't do their work, and then I helped them out with their truck, and then I got behind the mic exactly set up that way like a scam, because they said we also should help each other out, right? That was also, but then some men would purposely not do anything, and get behind in their truck, and then and then. Yeah, then they'll be like, "Hey, what are you guys doing? Y'all should help out your fellow men." And of course, that's good, but there are men who did it on purpose, and then they didn't get in trouble. That's what I'm saying. While we helped them out, and then some of us got behind our truck, and then we had to catch up with our truck, or each other's truck, and The purpose of all that was because the people behind the scenes, behind the cameras, got a show out of it. It wasn't just a company where people work. They also have plenty of replacement people applying for the job. But they pretty much like to toy with human beings, like behind the scenes, the people who are evil, looking behind the cameras. Because they know they can replace people at any time they want. You know what I'm saying? Exactly. I'm saying the reality. So anyway, I was working my job, and other guys were suffering, but I stayed calm and collected. I worked at my own pace despite what they say, because I understand they were trying to. Their goal was to stress me out. That's it. I was pretty much like an experiment while I was there. I was fully aware of it too. That's why I stayed working my own pace and stayed calm and collected. But anyway, I was doing my job, and then the moment they started asking me to do more stuff and other things, see, now here's the problem, right? If it gets in the way of my job or my task, or trying to keep things balanced, trying to keep things in order, then that's a sign, universal sign, that it's not meant for me to work that job. I'm keeping it real, because if it was meant for me to work that job, then none of that stuff would have happened. Exactly. That's why I say, when you're calm and collected, you're always aware of the signs of existence. You'll be able to aware the time and place for everything. It just means I wasn't meant to stay there, because when you go work a job to make money, no money or job is worth your peace of mind. Sacrificing your peace of mind. So basically, when I see that they're trying to get me to sacrifice my peace of mind, you know, and to stress out. They want to see basically where my only option is to stress out, right? Which I refuse to do. Then what do? I walk away and leave the job and just move on. So basically, I quit it. Why? Because money is not worth sacrificing your sanity for and your peace of mind. No, I never stressed out once or lost my sanity once. When I saw that they were trying to make it so that was the only option, I said, oh, I see. So it's not meant for me to be here. Okay, that's a sign. So I simply walked away and left that job. Exactly. So that's what I wanted to say in this video. I wanted to mention one of my past experience at one of my jobs in the past. Yeah, I was loading my own truck, and people kept doing things to cause, like, yeah, you can call it bullying, right? I bet they also thought that I had no choice but to work there, right? Like a lot of other men there. So they didn't realize that I always have options. So when they did that, right? Like, yeah, see, they didn't know then they just lost me. Like the next day, I never showed up. Exactly. Because it's like this. There's not anything worth suffering for when it comes to, like, a man's peace is worthy of. There's no price attached to it. Like, oh wait, hold on. Oh yeah, so if you're gonna live for something or die for something, it has to be your own peace. Yeah, material, money, wealth, other people is not worth, being tormented over or losing your sanity. But it takes a person with higher awareness to be aware of that. That's all I can say. The only being who's worthy of the only one worthy of suffering for is your peace of mind. Yeah, your true self within. That's it. So basically, when I say suffer, I mean like the only one worthy of defending. That's what I meant to say. Sorry, folks. I meant to say the only thing in existence worthy of defending and live for and to die for is peace of mind. Yeah, there's not anything that can compare to the true self within. So that's what I wanted to say in this video. So, but anyway, because it kept getting away my tasks, I already saw what they were trying to do. They wanted me to freak out, and yeah. And I said to them, hey guys, don't do this. I'm just trying to do my job. Y'all getting in the way. Y'all want to get a power trip, an ego boost. That's why y'all doing this. I even exposed them too. But anyway, they literally thought that was my only option. But I didn't even have to be there. That was just I only went there to make money faster. That was it. So at the time, you know what I'm saying. So that's why I worked there. But like I said, money is not as valuable as me. So therefore, I will never suffer for money's sake. Never. Like if something happens to where I have to. Like if I see that the only option, if I see what's coming, that the only option in order to keep a certain job or keep making money is for me to be stressed out and to be miserable and for me to endure the torment, then that job ain't worth it and making money ain't worth it. So I walk out. I left because I would not ever. I don't believe in stressing out or living by emotion or reacting negatively. I prefer to ignore all negativity. So. But anyway, if I see anything is trying to get me to, stress or anything, I would never allow myself to stress. I don't believe in that. So, anything that tries if I see that the only option is to stress, then I'm gonna walk out before that even happens. Exactly. Yeah, that's how I know the sign is for me to leave. Because if it was meant for me to keep that job, then there'll be no one trying to stress me out, or no one, and people would not be allowed to mess with me. Yeah. Because that job, like I said, was always an option. It wasn't a need. So I only did it just to make money faster. But it's like I said, making money is not really that important. It's just, you know what I'm saying. But if you ever choose to do something, and then how you know that's not meant to be, if things keep getting in your way while you're there, or trying to get you to stress out. Yeah, so that's what you got to know. Okay. Yeah. So I was always an honest worker. I'm never lazy. I'll work for my pay. I'll do what I do. But if it's worth my sanity, then the job and the people I associate, and even people I associate with, would no longer be worthy. If they want to disrupt my peace, anyone who wants to disrupt your peace, you have to let them go. Doesn't matter what relation you have with them, and if they're related or not, you have to let them go because you gotta understand, there's not anything in all of reality that's as worthy as your peace. That's right. So your peace is the only thing in existence worth defending. And also I want to clear something up too. One of the traits of us men, boys too, because boys will turn into men one day. But boys are already experiencing their natural male nature. So anyway, the natural thing about us men is that we're territorial by nature, which is good because that's just part of the masculinity, the universal masculinity, how we are. So anyway, like if you die, for example, if you die protecting what's yours, for example, we're territorial by nature. That's just our true self, one of our traits. If someone wants something of yours and you refuse to give it, and then you die protecting what's yours, it doesn't mean that you're saying that possession is more worthy than your life. It just means you're saying the reality that we're territorial by nature, so we protect what's ours. So yeah, that's pretty much why you protected yourself. It's not because it's more valuable than your life, but because that was yours and your job is to protect it. Exactly, because we're territorial by nature. That's one of our traits. So that's why we men do that. Not because we value it, but because we're not afraid to live or die. We'll fight for what's ours. We'll live for what's ours. Exactly. You gotta understand, every human have a lifespan. People will die anyway. Just be aware of that. So you gotta understand, never be afraid of death. Never be afraid of life. Enjoy. Just know you have peace, whether life or death. You gotta understand that. You gotta understand that. Yeah, just knowing the reality, everything will make sense, and then you always know what to do. Yeah. Because like I said, when we die protecting what we want, remember, you choosing to want to protect something that you like, and that's it. Yeah, you're not saying it's more worthy than you. You're just saying that you want that, and therefore you'll protect what you want. Because men are warriors by nature. We're naturally strong. So by nature, we'll have a warrior's death if it comes down to that, because we don't fear death. You see, you have to have the mentality. You know what I'm saying? Just be aware of that. But yeah, so yeah. That's why I lost, cause I had other jobs, but I just wanted to talk about the truck loading job. The people there were being too egotistic, trying to get in my way. And then I know that, and because I'm aware with this, I'm in sync with the source, my true self, I said, okay, those are signs that I'm not meant to stay there. Okay, I'm gonna leave them. Yeah, because remember, if you work a job and it gets to where your peace starts being or it's getting close to your peace being disrupted, then you gotta leave. Because I work for peace. That's right, so... Just remember, don't worry about your life or what to eat or drink or your body, what to put on. The true self within you, the self, will take care of the self. Because by nature, it's the self and what's best for the self. But that connection only happens when you trust your true self completely. Instead of halfway or mostly. No, completely. Then you'll have the true connection, and then existence will work in your favor. You gotta understand that. So yeah. So I wanted to talk about that because... Yeah. I was saying in this video, I want to make it clear what's worth living and dying for, and the reality of protecting what's yours, even if you risk dying, because you're saying that's your territory, and so that's just part of what makes us men. So yeah. Like, I'm more worthy than my bike. My bike is my transportation, right? That I use to ride around. But if anyone tries to rob me, take my bike, as a man, by nature, see, I'm masculine by nature, I will fight to defend what's mine, even at the cost of my life, because I don't fear dying, just like I don't fear living. So understand? So it's like both ways. It goes both ways with me. So yeah. So basically, since I'm a man, I'm territorial by nature, and that's why I'll protect what's mine. And same thing with other men. Yeah. It has nothing to do with the worthiness of the object. It's just the fact that it's ours. Exactly, that's mine. That's it. That's the only reason why I'll fight for it. Yeah. So that's for see. That's a different reason. Yeah, it's just because it's our territory. So that's the reason. Yep. Then the other reason is because if there's something that if we're working for money, and we have to sacrifice our sanity just to keep the job, then it's not worthy hanging around there and walking away. Because we're working for our pay, but it's not worth anything at the cost of our sanity. So just be aware of that. Never sacrifice your peace, for material or for gain in this world. Just know that you will gain anyway. Just simply, if you want to do anything, but it requires your peace for a sacrifice, that's demonic, and you should never entertain that. You should just walk away. There's always options. You just gotta trust your complete self within. Alright, this is Andre, and this is what I wanted to share with the people at the moment. Yeah, really think about the things I say, take notes. Anyway, peace.